Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ranked and Reviewed. I am your host, Tomye West, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Alannis Maximus.
In a new location. That this is a work in progress, but I promise I'll make it look better soon.
You'd want to. I'm only joking. What's with the trippy shit behind you on the wall?
That's space magic.
And why the fuck are you so far away from the fucking camera, man?
Because I have not organized things that well, but it'll do for now. Look, my stuff.
I guess so.
Look, my dirty washing. Behold.
I guess so. So anyway, we just got back from seeing The Flash, and we've got a lot to say on it, don't we, Alannis?
Yes, we do. We indubitably do.
I mean, look, what happened with Ezra Miller is a bit unfortunate, before the movie, was made. And I'm not saying that, we should forgive him or whatever, but we should talk about it, right? I mean,
I just realized something.
What? That's a bit better. You're not so far away now. Fucking disappearing into the void, you know what I mean? Anyway, as I said, I'm your host, Tomye West, and joining me as always is my co-host, Alannis Maximus. This is Ranked and Reviewed. Now, we've had a bit of a facelift. We are no longer doing our current old shows that we were doing. We're not doing our Pop Vultures. We're not doing, we're going to wrap up Televerse reviews very shortly. And we are strictly focusing on Ranked and Reviewed for the foreseeable time. How do you feel about that, Alannis?
I think it is goodly. It is fresh. It is exciting.
And it's streamlining the channel more. So it gives the people that come here for these movie reviews something to rely on and not coming here to see bullshit that they have no interest in.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, let's get started with an overview of The Flash. Just like we did in the beginning stages of the show, we're going to go over the overview. So The Flash, obviously released 2023 with the American rating of 12A. Again, another fucking rating I have no idea about. This was 2 hours and 24 minutes. It was directed by Andy Muschietti. It was written by Christina Hodgson and Joby Harold. This stars Ben Affleck, Ezra Miller, Sasha Cale, along with a bunch of other notable people, like Michael Keaton, obviously, and some surprises, which we will talk about when we get to that portion of the review. So, Alannis, let's do what we always did, and let's start with your thoughts on The Flash.
It was better than I thought it would be. Ezra Miller was as terrible as I thought it would be, but the surroundings were a little bit better. By DC standards, it was decent, but that is a low bar. Like, you got to be pretty good at Limbo to get under that one. I'll put this in the middle ground of DC movies. Watchable, enjoyable. Don't know if I have any desire to watch it again, but I didn't hate it, and I think that's something.
Now, I'm just asking this because I have to ask this. Is your thought process about not Alannis, because that's you, Ezra Miller, is your hate for him and his the way he portrays the Flash and the way he acts in this film and stuff, is that your thoughts because of what he has done prior to this movie, or is this just your general thoughts on Ezra Miller?
Just general thoughts. I think always thought he's been poorly cast. I always think there was a missed opportunity to translate directly, put Grant Gustin in as the Flash in the movies. I think he's pretty perfect. He's more, yeah. I think the best way to put it is Ezra is not my Flash.
I get that, but what don't you like about his portrayal?
I just think it feels to me like they're trying to fill the void of like there's composites in a lot of the DC movies. Like Jason Momoa's Aquaman is wet Thor. It feels like they've tried to pour the Flash into this angsty youngster mold, like he's almost like the answer to Spider-Man, and I don't think it's the truest depiction of how the character could or should be. To my knowledge, he's never really been that way. Incredibly, he's not never been
The one glaring issue that I had with his portrayal, which I actually liked it, I actually enjoyed it. The one part I do not buy, with him is being this detective, what is it, CSI, like crime investigation dude. That's the part I don't buy. Ezra Miller being his part of being Barry Allen. I buy him being Barry Allen, the person outside of that, and I buy him being the Flash. But I don't buy him being the way he was portrayed in the Flashpoint Paradox or comics related to the Flash, or even any animated or prior live action portrayals of him as that. I don't believe he kind of fits the mold that way. What do you think about that?
I think that's a big part of it as well. Like, he doesn't seem like a CSI. He doesn't, like, he seems like a nerdy little kid. He feels a lot like Peter Parker.
Whoa, you just went dark, man.
Something has happened. 1 second.
Well, while you fix that, I'll talk a little bit. Now, I wrote down a lot of points. I wrote down what was good with green ticks, and then I wrote down what was bad with red crosses. So, I'm going to start with, this was paced pretty well, in my opinion. I think this movie was paced very well. How do you feel about
that? It was reasonably well. The middle, I think, started to drag a little bit. Like, it felt a little bit longer than it should be. I wouldn't say it dragged to the point where I was like, but I was starting to kind of get a little bit like, come on. But I don't think it was necessarily, it wasn't like, what's something we've seen that dragged really bad? It wasn't like the Batman.
Yeah.
But it did start to, the only pacing issue, if I was to nitpick, would be the middle act kind of started to,
I'd say until Michael Keaton came in as Batman, and then they were running around the Batcave and all that sort of stuff. I'd say that's when it kicked back into gear, and I think went quicker. I think the starting was really good, and I think it kind of dragged. Like, the starting was really good because of just the amount of action and that awesome slow motion scene and things like that. And all the Batman stuff with Ben Affleck was great at the start too. I think that it kind of dragged after that point where he's talking to his dad. He's like trying to work out how he goes back through time, blah 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 blah. And then when he finally gets to that old Wayne Manor, I think is when it sort of speeds back up again. What do you reckon?
I think so, yeah. And that's precisely where I went, I need to urinate. So I'm going to do it now. The second they said, let's find Batman, I'm like, time to go.
Yeah, definitely.
And I came back in the right time.
Now, I wrote this down, and I know you just told me that you don't feel this way, but I wrote, Ezra Miller really found the perfect balance in playing the Flash and Barry Allen. And I said, he may have found it better than... I said Ezra Miller delivered both roles of multiverse Barry and current timeline Barry so well, and it didn't feel like he was talking to a green screen or didn't feel natural.
I will give him that. It didn't feel like a green screen. I'll give credit where credit is due. Yeah, that didn't feel like it was green screen there.
And I will say that I think that he did play the role of the Flash better than he has portrayed the role of the Flash in all previous times he has portrayed the Flash. What about your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he was a little more fleshed out as a character, but I think that also comes from he had that room to move, where they could expand him a little bit more. It definitely was out of the times I've seen him like in Justice League. Well, he's only been in the Justice League, I think.
No, he's been in. He was in Batman v Superman for a split second.
Yeah.
Then he was in 2 seconds. He was in security cam footage that Batman finds on Batman v Superman. Then he was in the part where he comes through the computer in that dream and tells him, like, you know, about something from the future or whatever, you know. Then he was in Justice League. Then he was in Justice League Snyder Cut. Then he was in, I feel like he was in something else as well. I can't think though. Anyway, that was another thing that I think he definitely like found it wasn't awkward Ezra Miller. Like, where Ezra Miller is an awkward dude, and he seems that way in like genuinely in real life. Like even before he went crazy, he seemed very sort of like inwards rather than an outwards person, and you felt that in the role. And with the Flash, I never felt like the Flash was an inward person. He was always very talkative. He's always very out there. He's always very, very, you know, confident. And I always felt like Ezra Miller was never confident in the role until this full-length feature that we got to watch tonight. I think he definitely found his place in the role, and as much as people don't want him to come back and people have their problems with Ezra Miller, I definitely think that now that you've come this far with it and we've gone and done this movie, I definitely don't think he can go back. I don't think he can recast somebody else. And I know you want someone to be recasted for if they do a second one, but I just don't think they will, because how many times have they said Ben Affleck's not coming back to play Batman? And he always does. How many times has they said that this is the end of the DCEU? And then how much was this a part of the DCEU? It was a huge, major part of the DCEU. I mean, the whole story revolves around the DCEU from beginning to end, with it having throwbacks to Man of Steel. So what do you think? Like, do you still want him recasted?
Yeah, definitely. More so, I think that's the part where it really comes down to who he is as a person. I don't think he deserves to be in the spotlight anymore. I think he's gotten off very lightly, and I think
but this is something that I wanted to talk to you about, actually, because I was like thinking about it from a really hard perspective, which is that I have a friend. I'm not going to go into names. I'm not going to go into details. It's going through mental health problems at the moment, and they're serious mental health issues, like serious. They're in like care. They're in mental institute at the moment. And this person is a great friend. I love him. He's a brother. And the stuff that he was doing was like, not everything, but some of it was, you know, pretty he wasn't in control, right? Yeah. And if it is legit that Ezra Miller wasn't being just a creep like in Hollywood there is, and he has severe mental health issues, and it's anything like I've seen with a bunch of my friends that have been in mental institutes and stuff that literally can't comprehend their actions. Like, I don't know if he does deserve the hate that he gets. He didn't rape anyone. He didn't do a Harvey Weinstein. He didn't do anything like that. He did some horrible choices, but if they are genuinely from the mental health aspect that he was not himself, he was on another planet, like, does he deserve the treatment that, let's say, Harvey Weinstein got?
I say it is a gray area, but I think I'm leaning to he needs at least more consequence. I don't know.
I mean, he's already facing jail and stuff. Like, not jail, but he's got charges. He's got lots of things going on. He's not like he got off lightly, and I don't think we've heard the end of it. But I definitely think that if there is mental health issues as a factor and he literally wasn't in control of what he was doing, then maybe there should be a little bit of leeway. I'm not saying he didn't do he is mentally unwell. I'm not saying he did it on purpose. I'm not saying anything. I'm on neither side. I'm just saying that that's something we should take into account. I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like I want on the premiere, he was told he wasn't allowed to talk at the premiere. Like he just walked through, got photos. There was no stopping, talking. No, like he was told, do not open your mouth. And I think it's time we get a sit down with him and we get him talking in his own words. Because right now it's all just news, it's all media, it's all Warner Brothers trying to protect their ass for this movie to come out. It's all this stuff. And we haven't heard from the fucking horse's mouth. You know what I mean? And I think that we need to get a better understanding of everything that caused this collapse. You know what I mean? And I think that they're not doing themselves any favors by not letting him do it, unless he really is still not right in the right mind, and they're worried that he really is going to fuck up and say something bad again. You know what I mean? The other things I'm going to say, apart from that, is the Batman scenes, in my opinion, because I'm a Batman guy, stole the entire movie. Every time Batman, whether it was Affleck, whether it was Keaton, stole the movie.
Absolutely.
I think that while Ezra Miller was great, while The Flash was done well, while everything around The Flash, like Supergirl, all these things were really good. But I think that the Batman scenes just owned everything. I think from the get-go, like the opening scene with Batman, the Michael Keaton parts, all the fighting scenes with Batman were dope. You know, all the bat technology, like Batman owned it. And in saying that, Michael Keaton was fantastic. I've heard he was very stiff from reviewers. I've heard that he was like, it almost felt like he was like kind of not that into it, but I didn't get that feeling. Did you?
Not at all. No, I felt like he was definitely very happy to be there. I think, and he did a good job of it. I don't think he was stiff at all there.
I actually felt like he was just Batman from 1989.
Yeah.
Like, what more did you want from him? If anything, his Bruce Wayne was just as thorough. He was just an older Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you look back on the movies, that Bruce Wayne isn't exactly that deep and complex, and
no, not at all. And I think he did a fantastic job. I also think that some of the 89 Batman references thrown in, like how the Flash brings that bag and he goes, "Look, this bag laughs," and opens it and goes, "Ha ha ha." Obviously, throwback to the first movie when Joker falls off the tower and they find his thing and there's a radio in his pocket or whatever. I'm going to say Ben Affleck was probably the best he's been at Bruce Wayne and Batman ever in this movie. What about you?
I agree. And it's a shame that he's not going to be Batman anymore, because I think he is the best, and he's only gotten better every time he's kind of come around.
Do you think he is the best Batman?
I do. He's my favorite on-screen Batman.
I'm going to agree with you right there, man. I'm going to say that Batman, Batman's been done well, Christian Bale, great Bruce Wayne, great actor, was in arguably some of the best Batman movies, if not the best Batman movies, depending on who you are and what your tastes are. And yet he was a terrible Batman. He was shocking as Batman. Not the design, not the way he portrayed Batman through body language or the way he moved his body, but just the voice was enough to say no, terrible. You know what I mean? Then you had Michael Keaton, who I'd say is probably the next best after Ben Affleck. And then I would go Val Kilmer, then George Clooney. No, then Ed Wood from Twilight, then George Clooney.
I would actually put George Clooney towards the top based on the Adam West Batman, to be honest. Completely different Batman, but he does camp Batman well, and I will die on that hill.
You can die on that hill alone, man. Fucking hell. Now, I thought Barry's roommates were hilarious.
Yes, yes.
Like multiverse Barry. His
Yeah.
roommates were hilarious. There was one part that made me. Oh yeah, the space. So what? He's like some kind of like man mermaid or what is it? Water.
Yeah.
And then he's just like water mermaid, and he's like, no, that's not what he is. He's a super powered guy that lives in Atlantis, and he can like call fish with his mind. He's like, yeah, so like a super mermaid.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I think that the humor overall in this movie was really, really good. I thought there was like some great laugh out loud moments, but I did also think there was some really cheesy moments too with the humor. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel that some jokes kind of were played out a little bit long. Some things was a little bit cheesy. One thing I did like was the kind of differences between Michael Keaton Batman's tech and Ben Affleck's. Like Michael Keaton had like a little touch screen for like the flip phone to try and hack things, and Batman and kind of there's subtle differences there which I really liked.
Yeah, definitely. Now I'm going to say a couple more. I'm trying to find a couple more points before we get into full blown spoiler territory. Did you get the hint that towards the end we were kind of getting like a glimpse into what the Reverse Flash was going to be with that argument between Flash and Flash? Was that sort of what you reckon they were hinting at? Because I was trying to work that out.
I can explain that.
Or is that can you explain that? But we got to save that for spoilers. Is that what you're doing? Okay, cool. I'm looking. The story was adapted fairly well from the comic adoration and the animation, the animated movie, with some minor problems that I have, which was number one, did not change the fact that it was Thomas Wayne instead of Bruce Wayne, like in that comic / animated film. I believe that would have been a way cooler thing to do, was to go through that time and realize that it was actually Bruce and the mum that died that day, and Thomas Wayne is the Batman, just like we got in the movie, and the animated movie. Do you agree that that's probably what you were wishing they did as well?
Absolutely, and they could have still done that with Michael Keaton. They could have maybe just taken the foot off the gas on the nostalgia factor and made him Thomas Wayne. People still would have been happy to see Michael Keaton playing an incarnation of Batman.
Exactly. And it could have been, because it's a different timeline, that could have been like, you know what I mean? It could have been the same Batman, but Thomas Wayne in a different multiverse. You know what I mean? Like it could have worked. It would have been confusing, but it would have worked. Now, some negatives I'm going to quickly get into before we get into our full spoilers, which is this movie. Why was it not in 3D?
Clearly, some of the things were meant to be in 3D.
That's what I wrote in here. No 3D, even though the film had several scenes which were clearly meant to utilize the 3D aspect. Now, I looked up today before we went and saw this movie, was this going to be in 3D 40X? And I'm telling you now that when I saw the result, I was really fucking pissed off, because this movie had been edited, converted, delivered basically to be 3D. Like they literally had converted it. It was done. They were gonna launch it in 3D. Someone actually said, I'm gonna read you the screenshot here. Someone actually said they cancelled the 3D release at the last minute, though it was completed, just like they did with Black Adam and Shazam. I literally had originally booked tickets for the 3D IMAX showing, and now it just says 2D. That's how quick they got rid of the 3D option for this movie. That means people booked tickets to see a 3D IMAX movie, and it was changed in that month of pre-sale. Like, what do you think was the choice there?
I don't know. Maybe maybe there was something that it just didn't work well outside of the scenes that we got. Like the CG in a lot of it was quite bad, so maybe it didn't translate well. Maybe it emphasized how plastic the CG looked for a lot of the faces and scenes.
I did think that the Flash's suit in this looked terrible.
Yes, and a lot of the
Way
faces.
too tight. It looked way too tight.
You had a lot of CG faces for whatever reason as well, which I can't say right now, but
Yes.
I'll touch on later. That
You can say one of them, which was Zod.
yeah,
That maybe it wasn't the actor's face being CG'd because he was actually there and in the movie, but the mask and everything over it, the way the CG looked trash. That looked
yeah.
The other thing I'm going to say was Zod is an uninteresting character in my opinion. I don't like Zod, and I don't think that he was an interesting villain for this movie, but that's because I'm not a fan of Man of Steel, and I didn't like that movie, and I didn't like him then, so I was disappointed. If you like Man of Steel and you like that Zod and you like that as a character, like you're gonna love him as a villain. But for me, it wasn't that much that I really wanted to give praise to. I mean, what do you think about the choice that they chose to do that instead of just make it a straight adaptation of the Flashpoint paradox? Because it seems to me like they mixed the Flashpoint paradox in with being able to tie it back to Man of Steel and those events. What do you think about that?
I think it was interesting. There was I feel as well if they just did the straight Flashpoint paradox, in some ways they would have added things that a lot of people might not have got unless they'd seen that like us. But they kind of did that anyway in some areas. So it was an interesting choice. I think they it feels like it was so it could come full circle because it kind of all started with Man of Steel, this cinematic universe, and this is kind of, as far as we know, kind of the curtain call on it as well. So
yeah, well, I think with that, I think we can move on to spoilers. Now, we're going to give everyone enough time, and we're going to bring up the spoilers bar right now. Spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, back off now. Alannis, you got to do the X. This means spoilers are coming in. So, no Christian Bale Batman, which I was disappointed in.
no, I could have taken that or left that. I don't like, you know how I feel about Christian Bale.
It's just that with what now we're going into spoiler territory. Like, think about how many Supermans we just saw. Why did we not see more Batmans? Including,
although we did get George Clooney, which I was very happy with.
we did. We got George Clooney at the end. I know, and I laughed so hard at that because that was the last Batman. Like, I know Val Kilmer's dead, but I would have expected him to walk up instead than George Clooney. I don't know, man. Like, it was just a weird choice. What do you think? Did you like it?
No, I liked it. It was good. Seeing Adam West in there as well was pretty great. He was in there very briefly. You had the Adam West Batman.
What did you think about seeing the Christopher Reeves Superman and the Nicolas Cage Superman?
I liked them both, and the Supergirl as well. The only thing I didn't like about seeing them is the CG looked so plastic. Like, they looked like they were out of a video game. They didn't. I've seen CG recreation before that looked really good, but they didn't look right. I don't know why, but yeah, it's that needed some more work.
Definitely. What did you think about, which I didn't like personally, I think it felt forced and it felt shoved in, the Wonder Woman cameo?
Yeah, that just felt like it was. Yeah, it was like in Shazam. She has a cameo in that there as well, just for no reason. It's like, hey, it's Wonder Woman for a brief moment. Cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm trying to look through my notes about what else is some spoilers. Yeah, explain your reverse flash theory.
Oh yeah, that wasn't so much Reverse Flash, but I'm pretty sure they were going for Savitar there, which is I don't know of his full story outside of the TV show, but it's loosely translated in that as well. He was one of the big bads where it's an evil Barry Allen, and I feel that cramming him in there, like they should have maybe had him as the main bad, not had Zod, had that kind of Savitar element. That would have been even in because it was there and it just kind of appeared. It wasn't a big deal. It was there at the start. And I feel like they could have had him as the big bad at the end, trying to fix everything and knowing that it won't. And then we wouldn't have had to have had that Zod, which we both kind of said was a little bit forced there. It was a strange choice to include that. I don't think it was necessary, and I think it would have even made it a little bit stronger if you just had the younger Barry Allen turning evil and being stopped by the main older Flash. It's seemed like an odd choice to me. And I don't think a lot of people are going to get that. They're kind of going to go, "Oh, who's that?" And I don't know. It's a little bit too much to add in, I think, and I don't think it. Yeah, I think that's the most I can really say about that.
Yeah, definitely. It would have been funny as if when Batman got out of the car and it wasn't George Clooney and it was Lego Batman. That would have been sick.
Yes.
And yeah, of course we got Alfred, so that was good. Getting Alfred back from Batman versus Superman and whatnot. Now, we're gonna shortly after we get into our spoilers, what we do is we always go into some trivia and then we go into some ranking. Now, I've just been reading the trivia just so I can get ahead and work out what I'm going to read and what I'm not going to read. And there's something interesting here. I want you to help me with this. It says the film will reportedly ignore the events of Batman Forever from 1995 and Batman and Robin from 1997 and come up with new stories about Michael Keaton's Batman to fill the gap between Batman Returns and this film. Now, did they do that?
No.
They didn't at all.
The only thing they slightly came close to with that was him saying how he's made Gotham one of the most peaceful, safe places in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something on the cutting room floor that was talked about, but
yeah, that's weird, man. Because it did feel like he just done nothing since. So I don't know, but yeah.
My work is done.
So like with the play-by-play of the movie, basically like it starts off with the Flash, being the Flash, saving some babies falling out of a hospital, which, the baby CG wasn't the best, but it was still a great scene. And then, we find out about how his mum died and how his dad's innocent and blah, blah, blah. And then he gets really mad about the fact that he can't save his dad from prison because the surveillance footage he had from the shopping center wasn't good enough or whatever. So he runs as fast as he could, the fastest he's ever gone, breaks, goes quicker than the speed of light, goes through dimensions and realizes that he could see back in time. Now, my problem with these scenes are that when he was in that ball and then his head comes out and pokes through into like different places, it looked horrible.
Oh, yeah.
The CG looked so bad there. And I thought that the whole way that they portrayed the in-between spaces where you could see everything and it was like built up like stairs and shit.
Yeah.
See layers. I felt like that looked really confusing and bad too. What do you think?
Absolutely. It looked plasticky as well, I think.
Especially when his face comes through, especially when his face comes through into like other universes. Very weird. And one other thing, what was with the ending where he like goes up and talks to his mum in the supermarket and she like clearly knows who it is and gives him a hug and all this, doesn't question anything, doesn't be like, what are you crying about? Like, where did you come from? Like, what do you mean you have to say goodbye? Like, were you confused by that?
Yeah, it was it yeah. I that's when I kind of started going.
Definitely. Now, let's talk a little bit about the 40X. Alannis, what did you feel the 40X brought to this movie's play?
Lighting was probably the most on point. The lights and things like that. I think it was the most. It wasn't just like random flashes. It was like when he zoomed around, you got flashes of lightning, and when they're in the storm and that, there was a lot more mist and water than I think. Maybe apart from minus the sprays in the face, probably the most water. Probably more than Mario. Like there's a lot of scenes where there's that mist coming through. Yeah, it's
You know what I hated about the 40X in this movie?
what?
The wind.
Too much wind?
Too cold. Like, dude, it was freezing already. It's a freezing cold night, yeah. And like we're going into a cinema, and like I get that we're gonna get wind and we're gonna get like moments of cool, but you know those moments when he goes into like the blue electricity moment, and it's supposed to be like a cold tone in the movie, so obviously they're gonna give you this cold sort of breeze on you. Like there was so many of those moments where I was like, no, shut that off. Like it's too much. Like I felt like that was the only part of the 40X that was overdone. I think that the movement was great. I think there could have been a little bit more movement, to be honest, with how hectic some of the final scenes were and the big fight, the sort of big climax scene. But I think it was not a bad experience. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't Guardians, where I still think Guardians was almost pointless in 40X. But yeah, anything else you feel about the 40X or?
I think those are the main things. The lighting and the water element, I think, was on point. Yeah,
Definitely. I mean, we're going to get to it in a minute where we rank this 40X experience compared to our other experiences we've had so far when we get to our ranking of filmed and ranking of experience. But the last thing I'll say about the 40X was that the moments of like, you know, the big chase scenes, the moments where the Flash is running, the big jolt like stops and stuff, like they were accented very well, I think, and were tuned very nicely. And as you said, the lightning, like, because, you know, there's a lot of lightning in the Flash, the lightning goes, you know, throughout the cinema, and I think that's a really cool addition to it as well. More than, as you said, we've gotten in most previous experiences with 40X. So with that, we're going to get into some trivia on this movie before we get into our rankings. Now, I don't know how much trivia there's going to be as it's such a new movie compared to when we do our older movies, and some of the trivia are pages long and there's a lot of funny ones in there. My favorite, just for instance, my favorite bit of trivia that I think we've ever done was on Halloween Resurrection. Yeah, after H2O. Resurrection, yeah?
Yes.
And where it says that on the way up the stairs, he's got like the spiked up hair, but then when he's like up the top of the stairs, it's going like this up the stairs. Like that's one of my favorite pieces of trivia ever. But we're gonna go to this trivia. So, Michael Keaton will be 71 at the time of this film's release, making him the oldest actor to play Batman in a live-action film or TV series. The only actors who were older were Adam West, who was 88 when he voiced Batman for the final time in Batman vs. Two-Face in 2017, which was released after his death, and Olan Sool, who was 74 when he voiced Batman for the final time in the 7th season of Super Friends in 1973.
There you go.
The third adaptation based on the Flashpoint storyline after the Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox, and then season 3 of The Flash. I didn't know that.
They didn't do it that well.
No?
Series. No.
This is Andy Muschietti, who is the director. This is his first non-horror movie.
His last name is Machete, and he does a bunch of horror movies.
Yeah, it's Machete. Yeah, it's Machete. It's Muschietti.
Yeah.
And yeah, his like last movies were It Chapter 2, It, Mama, his yeah, and he got Welcome to Derry. He's doing the TV series. With his appearance in this film, Ben Affleck will have played the role of Bruce Wayne / Batman 4 times in live-action films, more than any other actor. Although he's the only Batman never to have a standalone movie. What a shame, man. You know,
Give him one.
Give him one. Remember he was writing one at one point, like set to like helm one.
Yeah.
They should have done that, man. I don't know. Jeffrey Dean Morgan joked that Michael Keaton was stealing his job from him. In the Flashpoint comic book, the alternate Batman Barry meets is Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, who became Batman after Bruce was murdered. And Morgan played Thomas Wayne in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
That's the weirdest casting for him in that. Like,
yeah,
he's not the small actor, and he's just randomly there to play Thomas Wayne. I feel there must have been a point where they must have had on the cards that they're going to do Flashpoint. I reckon there was a point that he was going to be Thomas Wayne.
Ezra Miller and comic writer Grant Morrison wrote a draft of the script with a darker take on the character, but the studio had decided to move forward with their version. Ray Fisher was included as Cyborg with significant role in the film at this point, but was written out of the script in January 2021, allegedly in retaliation for his exposure of abuse at DC Films. And now, you said you didn't like as Ezra Miller as the Flash. You say you don't want him to continue as the Flash, not just because you don't like his portrayal, but also because of what's going on with him publicly. But what do you think about these choices? Because Bradley Cooper, Chris Pine, Ryan Quanten, Matthew Fox, and Scott Porter were linked for the role of Barry Allen / the Flash before Ezra Miller was cast.
I could see some of them doing better, like Chris Pine. Maybe, like, he is actually no. I could see that. Bradley Cooper as well.
No way. He's too old.
Yeah. But if it was an older Flash, like, I think they would have changed things around there. But
yeah. Julia Roberts and Julianne Moore were considered for the role of Nora Allen. The first, wait, hold on. The 13th film in the DC Extended Universe. Now, something we wanted to talk about with this. The DC Extended Universe needs to, like, DC are better at doing single movies or trilogies like The Dark Knight Rises, the Dark Knight trilogy, or singular movies, like, or even if we would have gotten like a continuation of like Batman Returns with Michael Keaton in Batman Forever and continuing on and making it like that. I don't believe that DC should be following the Marvel sort of slate and trying to tie every movie together, because I just don't think it works as well, because they haven't had as long to set it up and those things. So to me, this is, does Aquaman 2 count then? I don't know, because it's also saying here that this is the last time that Ben Affleck is playing Batman, but we've already had confirmation that he's in Aquaman, isn't he?
I'm sure I've read that.
And I'm sure, unless I heard, maybe they removed him. I'm going to look it up, because I know for a fact that he was like slated to be in Aquaman 2. And yeah, it just seems weird to me that they're saying he's not going to come back as Batman, but like, I thought he was in that. I know it was filmed before and blah, blah, blah. No, it still says in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Jason Momoa, Ben Affleck, Patrick Wilson. So he is back, but it doesn't. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Ben Affleck. So upcoming, he's got. It doesn't even. He's not even listed in the upcoming now. anyone out there that knows, help us out here. Is Ben Affleck coming back for Aquaman 2? Not that it really matters because I couldn't give a fuck less about Aquaman 2. But, yeah, are you excited for Aquaman 2?
No.
Um,
Wet Thought 2.
We'll go with one more piece of trivia before we get into our rankings. This will be the second movie in the DC Extended Universe to be filmed entirely with IMAX cameras by Henry Braham, BSC, and after the Suicide Squad in 2021. That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, is there anything cool about anything else? Henry Cavill approved the film, whatever. Nicolas Cage voiced Superman and Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Okay. What a shit trivia thing that was for absolute. That's like no point to that trivia. Anyways, let's get into our ranking, Alannis. Now, with Ranked and Reviewed, it's gone through a few iterations, and we used to rank films, all films in one franchise next to each other, and we used to rank them from worst to best, best to worst, however you want to put it. So, for instance, Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we put them all in an order of what we like the most. Separate lists, by the way. My own list, Alannis's list. What we've decided to do with Ranked and Reviewed this year is we're going to rank and review the movies throughout the year. And at the end, we're going to have a tally of what we think was the best movie of the year to the worst movie of the year. But with Indiana Jones coming up, and with, I'm sure, more Batman movies coming out soon, and I'm sure another Scream movie and things like that, we still will be ranking those movies against the previous ones while we do rank them in the yearly list. So with that, let's get to our rankings, Alannis. Now, first, I'm going to bring up our rankings for the 40X experience and where we place it. And that would be in our overlays right here. So for 40X experiences this year, my ranking goes number 1, Super Mario Brothers. Number 2, The Flash. Number 3, Fast X. And number 4, The Guardians of the Galaxy. Alannis's is identical. So do I really need to read them out again? Number 1, Super Mario Brothers. Number 2, The Flash, Fast X, and then Guardians. Guardians of the Galaxy was so shit in 40X. It was just so disappointing. Anyways, let's get into our ranking of movies so far this year. And the list goes a little like this. My list goes number 1, the Super Mario Brothers movie. Number 2, Scream 6. Number 3, The Flash. Number 4, Avatar 2. Number 5, Cocaine Bear. Number 6, Evil Dead Rise. Number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 8, Fast X. Alannis goes number 1, Evil Dead Rise. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 3, Avatar 2. Number 4, Scream 6. Number 5, Super Mario Brothers. Number 6, The Flash. Number 7, Cocaine Bear. And number 8, Fast X. Your list's changed quite a lot, Alannis.
I did jig it a little.
You dropped some movies, and you dropped some further down than I like. Oh, man. So what? Wow. Okay. Fair enough. I'm not going to say anymore. So everyone, okay, the last thing we'd like to do is let's give this movie a ranking out of 5. Alannis, what do you give The Flash out of 5 stars?
I'm going to say overall, as a movie, 2.5. As a DCEU movie, 3.5.
I'm going to give it a 4. A 4 out of 5. I definitely think you should go see it. Whether you're not, if you just want to see it for Batman, the Batman stuff like that, it's so worth seeing for Batman. The 40X experience, yes, it's definitely worth seeing in 40X. A little bit taken away from it from the fact that it's not 3D, but it's still a worthy experience. One little thing I wanted to bring up was there was a few little things that happened in the movie that sort of imitated Ezra Miller's troubles, which was that he stole alcohol from someone's house, just like he did in real life. And then the other one was, there was a few lines that, really imitated some, and that didn't sit well, I would say, as well as they would have if there hadn't been much controversy. Like the line about him, like, I don't know about sex, I've never, you know what I mean? And just like things like, where he's like, my dick. And you're just like, as soon as Ezra Miller talks like that, you think about, oh, he punched someone in the head in Hawaii. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but look, that's the last thing I'm going to say before we end this episode. We loved it. Well, I loved it. Alannis thought it was okay. Whether you like Ezra Miller's history with the law, whether you like Ezra Miller at all, whether you don't like him, I think you should separate this movie from Ezra Miller and go support everyone else that had something to do with this movie. I mean, think about every other actor like Michael Keaton, and we're not going to do the spoiler thing again, but because the spoiler bar is not up, and if people are just joining us or whatever, I don't want them to have it ruined. But like, we had some great roles. We had some great people come in. We had a lot of people that worked hard on this movie, you know, and I don't want the movie to suffer because of poor choices made by Ezra Miller. And I think that people should give the movie a chance if they can separate the artist from the art. If you can't, fair enough. I'm not going to hold it against you. No one is. You have the right to feel that way. Is there anything you'd like to say on that, Alannis?
Not really.
Fair enough. Next week, I believe it's next week. Yes. Next week we are coming with Transformers to you.
Not in 40X because
they decided they're not going to show it in 40X, which is unfucking believable to me.
I think we're gonna have to counter that by maybe seeing it in VMAX, so at least it's a big screen. But no 3D. Like,
no 3D, no 40X. We just have to just deal with this. And I'm not going to IMAX.
No.
So we're just going to be coming to you with Transformers Rise of the Beasts, our review next week. Will that be on? When's that out? I'm going to have a quick look. That movie is going to be out, because is it the Wednesday or the Thursday? Coming soon. Cinemas, movies, coming soon. So we got Transformers, Rise of the Beasts.
That's an interesting thought. What's going to be in 40X after Indiana Jones?
That's an interesting thing. So we're going to
the Marvels. That'll be 40X.
Yeah, probably. So we're going to get Transformers next Thursday. So we're going to be coming at you next Thursday with our review of Transformers Rise of the Beasts in standard ass fucking shitty definition.
In normal cinema.
I'm just going to double check if it's in 40X at all, or, you know, if they've changed it. Filter by experience, 40X. Nope. It's just not coming. So we're not doing. So we're going to be doing Transformers next week, followed by Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny the week after that, which will be in 40X. And Alannis, I didn't know if you knew this, but that'll be the Wednesday night, not the Thursday.
Yes.
And I just want to let everyone know a little behind the scenes baseball with this movie for me is that Indiana Jones is my favorite film series ever. And after all the negative stuff I'm saying about this movie, I'm telling you, if I come out of that movie disappointed, I quit the show. Because I'm never going to the movies ever again. Ever. They fucked me too many times with Halloween Ends. With fucking... There's been so many movies where I'm just like, this is so bad, man. Like Halloween Ends. And then I'm telling you, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was no shining fucking diamond either. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. Just bring it home with Dial of the Destiny. Even though that chick looks annoying as fuck in the trailers and everything, I'll let it pass if it's going to bring a good Indiana Jones movie to us. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Not hopeful, but hopefully. Anyways, everyone, thank you for joining us for Ranked and Reviewed Live, The Flash, our 40X review. We will see you next week, next Thursday for Transformers, and the week after that on the Wednesday for Indiana Jones. I've been your host, Tomye West. And joining me, as always, has been my co-host, Alannis Maximus. and we will see you next week for Transformers Robots in Demise. You reckon it's going to be good?
I hope so.
Michael Bay didn't direct it, I heard.
He didn't do the last one either, and I think that's why it was better. So,
Yeah, give a fuck, really. Peace, everyone, and thank you. And yeah, we love you. Peace.